Tourism Committee meeting for January the 26th. I welcome all of you. I also welcome the new members of the Tourism Committee, Mr. Weil, Mr. Garrity, Mr. Diamond, Ms. Hogan, and Mr. Driscoll. We got more new members than we have old, so we'll work it through.
With your permission, can I just sit at the table since it's a crowded house today?
You can sit at the table.
Thank you.
As long as you keep your hand down, you're fine.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to open the meeting. I need a motion to accept the minutes of November 8, 2017 meeting. I have to get that from the Mr. Garrity. Make that motion.
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second it because I'm from that meeting. The rest of these are all new. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, we'll move on. I'll open it with Joanne to talk about some resolutions.
So we have two resolutions on the agenda today. The first is to renew our agreement with the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council. So that Tourism Council is a consortium of 7 counties within the Adirondacks, and we contract with them each year and contribute matching funds dollars to that budget. And along with the attachment that was posted online is a sample of last year's marketing program. The new 2018 marketing program will be presented at our next meeting, but they do PR for us and social media and videos and digital and an array of marketing. So it's beneficial for us as Warren County to identify with the Adirondack region and take advantage of that relationship, which in turn is leveraged off the Isle of New York relationship. So this would just be an annual resolution for us to contract with them for 2018.
Question? Please excuse me, but I'm new to this committee. Could you just tell me what the total budget is in your share?
The total budget is, the resolution is up to $150,000. It's $74,000 from matching funds and $74,000 from our tourism budget.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions?
Have we had past years where we didn't have the plan in front of us?
They always present it at our first meeting of the year. So the plan that, I do have a copy of it.
Do we know, will this year's plan be substantially
It will be
the same?
Much the same. And I can come back at the next meeting and present that if we'd like to go over it.
We're going to try. I mean, we started last year that anything that's major, like these plans that we have here with 4 or 5 pages, we're going to try to get them out a week before the meeting so that the board has a chance to read them and get their questions ready, because it's tough to read and answer all these questions at the first meeting. So by next month, anything that comes up at the meeting, you'll get a week before.
Thank you.
All right. And same, I think I told Ms. Hannaford the same thing. Like, she puts a nice report out from the CBB board every month. If she can get it to us a week before, we'll send it out to the committee, so everybody, you gentlemen and ladies, know what we're talking about. Okay? All right, so let's go back to the motion for this first resolution. Can I get a motion to approve this first resolution?
Put the motion
Mr.
forward.
Diamond? Ms. Hogan? Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Second one, Joanne?
The second resolution request is something that we have done for many of recent years. Josiah Brown is here with us today to make a little bit of a presentation and tell you what he does for us out on the road. Josiah is our feet on the ground, man on the street. He knows New York State inside and out, and I genuinely feel that he knows all of Warren County like the back of his hand, and he can speak for us and represent us well. So we do contract with him each year, and Josiah is just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what he does throughout the course of an entire year.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. It's always good to be in Lake George, and I will keep this very brief so that we can keep this rolling along. But I am Josiah Brown with New York's Best Experiences, and I've been traveling the state and promoting New York State in some degree for about 15 years. And over that time, I've racked up about 600,000 miles across just New York State experiencing things. Every time I think I've done everything, somebody comes to me and says, oh, you have to do this, and then it goes on the bucket list. But I wanted to just quickly go through what we do, and it started with a belief about 5 years ago when I started my own business. I believe that people travel by personal interest. We promote the state in counties. There's 62 counties in New York, but I really believe the genesis of all travel is a personal interest, what we like to do. And so what I have also found through the time in promoting New York is that if you were looking for first-time visitors, and that's the really desirous fruit, so to speak, because first-time visitors usually stay longer, spend more, and they're 11 times harder to recruit than a return visitor. So every destination needs to lean into continually bringing in first-time visitors. Very often the psychology of a first-time visit is that you've gotten a recommendation from someone. If you go to a restaurant or you go to a movie that you're not aware of, but somebody that you trust makes a recommendation, it takes down that wall of fear of trying it. And I found that in my role of promoting New York through the years, that's what I was constantly doing, was making recommendations. And when I got out on the road, I said, really what I want to do is I want to start to help with this myth that when you say you're from New York, what does everybody think? And that, an hour outside of our border, if you say you're from New York, many people say, oh, I love the city at Christmas time. And I say, no, I'm from the Hudson Valley, grew up in the Catskills, et cetera, et cetera. So how do I do that? If our mission is to bring in first-time visitors, we studied that. And what we found was that we needed to meet the public how they thought. And I wanted to build a brand that was reaching the public how they thought. And so we said, what kind of traveler are you? And we highlighted a few select destinations in the state that we felt were amazing places to come visit, what we call epicenters of experiences. And in that, we built a mobile visitor center, and we go out about 11 months of the year. We're out. We have what we call our purple cow, so to speak, in marketing. If you don't have a purple cow, they'll just pass you right past. And so that old marketing term, we have this big wrapped truck that kind of becomes the centerpiece of our mobile visitor center, and we built a display that did this mission for us, which was to engage people in conversations for that first-time visitor. You'll notice in our booth, and this takes different forms whether we're outside at a festival or inside, the largest message in our booth are things instead of places. So they see the thing, and they come in, they say, I love to do that. I didn't know you could hike in New York. I didn't know you could bike in New York, those kind of things. And we truly, when we're at some of these shows, we will have people asking us things like, is there anywhere to fish? Is there anywhere to stay? That's sometimes how little they really understand about our state. So this is an example of our booth. We only travel with 15 destinations across the tour across the state, and one of our missions has become to be very tactical. So we'll show up at air shows. We were on the footprint of the Baseball Hall of Fame induction for a few years with I Love New York. This is our display in Grand Central Terminal, which is one of our very popular events that we do on the year, and street festivals. And so we meet people where they're out having fun and having experiences, and we say, what kind of traveler are you? This is the Springfield Outdoor and Fishing Show in Springfield, Massachusetts. And the number one question we get there is, where do you fish in New York? And we say, you're thinking New York City, right? And they say, yes, oh, right. And then we casually say, we have fishing zones that are larger than your state. So it's really neat. There's almost 1 million anglers there, and only 7% of them come to New York. So we really go to very specific events, and our mission is to talk to people. We have our own travel guide that's a quick wrap-up of our whole booth so that they don't have to take everything. But this is our philosophy. We really believe that humans are still the best app. And we know that there's an incredible importance of digital marketing and a marketing mix, but we feel like a sliver of that pie has to be the human connection, talking with people, being a brand advocate and having that PR value, because what we have found at many of these shows, sometimes we're there with some representatives of the area, of a region maybe there as well, but sometimes people will come into our booth and say, we heard this, is that true? They've seen us as third-party credibility because of being an independent brand, and it's the TripAdvisor effect. Before you go somewhere, you're sitting on TripAdvisor and actually researching it, and that's what we want to be. We've established ourselves as professionals. These are the shows that we go to through the course of the year. Just the entrance fees alone are about $40,000, and that's how we hit the state. So we have found that Cooperstown, Niagara Falls, and Lake George are the top 3 things that people have a sense of already, but most of it is we were there as a kid, and that we see that the Adirondack brand is growing very strongly, and being a gateway and an authentic Adirondack experience has been a real help here. We talk about the 3 Lake Georges. We find that most people fit into the mile up the lake in south, a mile up the lake in north, and boaters. That's how most people seem to think about this destination from their experience. So what we do is we try to measure what we do to bring back some reports. A lot of times people talk about ROI and return on investment, and we know that if you run a YouTube pre-roll ad or a Facebook ad, that ad produces metrics. And so we also talk in metrics in the sense of the events that we go to have about 500,000 or 600,000 attendees. We distribute between 3,000 and 4,000 guides. Many of them have been opened and marked up by someone, either myself or someone on our team, with a personalized recommendation. And we're about 25% or less of the cost of doing this on your own. And some destinations that work with us, like Niagara or Cooperstown, sometimes they send a representative to certain shows to just be a face. This is what we go for. My first hour at the Philadelphia travel show, a woman came up to me and said, "I bought my ticket to this show to talk to you again." And we hear this a lot, but they rarely email us the story afterward. And she had come to the show, got a recommendation, came to Lake George for a week, and came to that show specifically to ask us for another recommendation. And then we sent them on to the Finger Lakes, because her mission was to do everything once. But she actually sent us an email and said, "This is what you did for us. We never realized how much was in New York. We lived in Philly and we've traveled the world, and we never realized how much was in New York." So that's kind of what we live for here, being able to drive someone to the destination. So we talk about things, and what I'll leave you with is that as you go about your marketing mix, as you go about figuring out what your purple cow is, what your thing is that is so different, we would encourage you to just talk about things, because people come into our booth and they rarely ask us about a place. They ask us, what is a family destination? Where can I go hiking? Where can I get a craft beverage? Where's a great downtown festival? And then we answer those questions with destinations, and that seems to be the cycle. The idea of something for everyone we have found is a challenging marketing pitch in tourism, that people want to know it's special for them. So we talk about the thing that makes us the most special, and that's what we do. And you can follow my 50,000 miles a year across New York and the East Coast on Instagram, and I'd be happy to take questions. But we're very pleased. I think we've been working with Lake George in some capacity for about 14 years. When I first came into the industry, I worked in a company for 8 years called New York Welcomes You, and then I bought that company and have run that company myself for the last 5 years. And we've appreciated the support because it's a great story to tell here, and I've come here with my family and spent a lot of time getting yelled at for swimming outside of the lines at $1 Million Beach and the like. So I really do love this destination and have appreciated the support. So thank you.
Any of the committee have any questions?
I'm almost
Well,
afraid to.
No, go ahead.
Just a quick question. You represent 62 counties in total?
No, we just I've worked with all 62 in some capacity over the years, but we only carry 15 destinations on this tour. This was really meant to be the front window display of New York, so to speak.
So we in essence compete with some of these counties. So how do we get you to mention this?
What we try to do is we try to find what you're truly famous for. We have this philosophy of, if you're famous for it, that's what we want to recommend. And Lake George has this incredible cross-section of experiences, but I probably wouldn't send someone here if they wanted to spend 3 days at wineries, right? That the Finger Lakes is going to win that one. But if, Lake George has this ability to take you to another place as a family, and I think even take you to another place as a millennial. Millennials are seeking these outdoor experiences. So the super raw outdoor destinations want to capture the millennials, and the built-up destinations want to capture families. And Lake George really has both. that you can be in the downtown and have that experience and then go out and be in the Adirondacks. And so we find a lot of people, it's very recommendable. And we move around the East Coast, so if when we're at the Boston, Springfield, and Hartford, and Long Island shows, this is the logical portal. As we go further out west, maybe some of the Finger Lakes or Cooperstown is a little more. But we really look for what they want to do and make a couple of recommendations, and then everyone gets one of our guides, which has all the destinations in there. So you truly have this famous edge because virtually everyone has heard about it if they haven't been, and that's a good advantage for us.
Anyone else? Joanne, we need a resolution now? Okay. We want to move forward on a resolution to work with these people again another year. Mr. Driscoll? Okay. Mr. Diamond? You have a question, or you just read it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Joanne, back on. Okay, that's it.
So welcome to 2018, and welcome to our new supervisors. As much as time allows today, we'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of what we do, our department, our marketing plan. The travel guide for 2018 was distributed at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, but I just would like to point out a couple of things relative to the guide. This is the third year that we've been evolving and getting away from pages of listings and listings and listings that you couldn't read unless you had the glasses. So it's more of that nice, glossy, I'd like to pick it up and I'd like to take it home with me magazine format. So we capture your attention with our logo on the front, a nice big image that you want to just immerse yourself into, and then some of the other things you can see and do around the county, and winter is the focus of the back of the book and many pages inside. We start with our original vacation story, which is, we did actually sit down with Josiah a couple of years ago as there was a transition within the department, and that was the first thing he said to us: find your famous. Everyone has a beach, or everyone has a mountain, or everyone has lovely restaurants and dining, but what are you famous for? So we came up with the original vacation. We kind of brainstormed a little bit that vacationers would come here from the city, they'd vacate their homes and come to the mountains, and we have a beautiful lake, and it started with that. We have a beautiful ski mountain and mountains where you can hike and be outdoors. We have downtown Glens Falls that is arts and culture and the Hyde Collection and so much more. So when you look at that entire county, we have so much to offer, and we are so enviable. It was easy for us to identify with this tagline of the original vacation. So we started that 2 years ago. We've elaborated on that a little bit, quite a bit, in the travel guide, so we invite you to read that. The opening page of the book with the table of contents is Four Seasons in the Lake George area. A local photographer shared this image with us. We launch right into events, which are a major focus of our promotions. We know that people love to come here. They're repeat visitors. Why do we want to bring them back again and again? Because we have so many really cool events. So all of our major events, our Tier 1, we call them, in the front of the book, and a little bit of a snippet of information. Then we get into our Tier 2 events, and maybe those are some that we can work on to bring them up to that well-lit Tier 1. Or if you're here for a 1, maybe you'll check out another event while you're here, but really focus on events around the county. I skipped over a page in here that was Festival Commons, because so many wonderful events are taking place there. I'm going to come over to page 33, and we have a lovely spread on camping. I think there are 4 pages here, but it's a story about camping, and it immerses you in that feeling, that island, that tent, and you feel like, wow, I really want to be there. There is a list of campgrounds if you'd like to come camping, but we want you to feel camping in the area. The same thing with hiking, 2 pages over on page 37 through 39. Not everyone can hike the high peaks, but you know what? We have the Pinnacle, and we have Prospect Mountain, and we have Cat and Thomas. So I can actually go out there and do that and enjoy that with my family, and it might take us a half an hour or 2 or 3 hours, depending on what you choose, but I can go back and say, and those millennials, you know, have their phones, and they're going to swipe away and tag and say, I was in Lake George, or I went to Bolton Landing, and I took this picture, and I want to share it with all of my friends. So we within the department, a couple of us really like to hike. Eric is our hiker extraordinaire, so he's out there on the trail. He'll come back, he'll write a little story, we put it online, we sampled a few in the guide, but people can read about real-time experiences, whether it's hiking or a number of other things in the guide. A couple pages back on page 45, bicycling. We know that bicyclists bring business. Actually, as part of the connection with the regional Adirondacks, Hamilton County received a $50,000 award through Market New York to develop a cycling plan for the Adirondacks. So this is like just out the gate. I've been invited to join that meeting, but we're well recognized for beautiful roads, scenic roads, and backcountry trails for cycling. So we're fortunate to have a group within the county, the Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycling, that will move that agenda forward, and we work closely with them. And people will travel with their bikes on top of their cars to come and stay with us. The sights and tastes, the tastes of Warren County, our local maple producers, Bark Eater chocolate, all kinds of farmers markets on page 53. Then toward the back of the book, there are 4 pages on autumn and 4 pages on winter. This is our year-round guide. We have gotten away from all of the little niche pieces. So this truck just pulled in today with quantities. We invite anyone to take them back with us. We distribute them at all over the state, information centers, on the thruway with our local properties. Often we hear that we have repeat visitors. Of course we do. They come back year after year. Take the book home with you. Come back, read through it. I want to come back another time. I want to share it with my friends and family. So in addition to getting the guides out, we do want to have them in the hotel rooms. And we did make an effort to do that last year and invite, our properties come in to pick some up. But if you're busy and you can't get to us, then we'll get in the car and we'll bring them to you. So that's our travel guide, and we love it, and we'll change it up a little bit more next year. But I think we're on a path to, a nice kind of a coffee table piece that you'd like to pick up and keep. Moving on to our tourism overview. I know that this was included in, the online agenda packet, and perhaps you haven't had time to read through all of it, and it is pretty comprehensive. So I think I'll just go through the first couple of pages, and we can continue to talk about this at the next meeting or delve into it a little bit more. And certainly you can always come to us with questions. But our overview, we as a tourism department realize this is a changing industry. Technology in and of itself changes our lives on a daily basis, and we need to be in tune with that. And our goal is always to make sure the Lake George area is the preeminent vacation destination of the Northeast. Over the past year, we've developed our mission and vision statement, and it's, we clearly are here to promote the area responsibly, honestly, and to share our love and our passion. All of us, I think, in the department live the tourism, our work ethic carries over into our everyday lives. I mean, we're all on the clock 24/7, but we love what we do, and that carries over into the work. Our tourism department right now is 6 full-time employees and a part-time employee. We do have a vacant position right now, so we're working with the chairman on how to best fill that position. So we're all kind of wearing a couple of hats. Our goals, a couple of main goals for the year. I would say every year, each and every year, our goal is always to attract overnight visitors and to increase occupancy tax. How do we do that? we have an entire marketing plan that backs that up. And there are measurements in place so that we can see how we're doing, whether that's the Smith Trend reports, our OPTAX collections, our sales tax collections. There's an annual report from New York State, Tourism Economics, that will measure us against other counties throughout the state. I will jump to our relationships with our regional and state partners. So I told you about we have a contract with the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council, and that in turn, so that would be the next level up for us, and then one level beyond that is I Love New York. And those relationships are invaluable to us out in the marketplace. They have additional dollars they can leverage. We can leverage the I Love New York brand awareness, their budget, their people, all of the promotions that they do. Anyone who was on the committee last year, we showed you the I Love New York summer commercial, and then we showed you our summer commercial, and I Love New York also identified as the state that was the home of the original vacation. So, you know, we'd like to take a little bit of ownership that we've trademarked that phrase and moved that movement forward. So those relationships that we build with our partners are really invaluable to us. They send PR and leads and share social media with us all the time. They each have their own websites. I could just go on and on about those relationships, but they are incredibly important to us to maintain all day, every day. Another one of our main goals this year that I would say would be a little bit new to the mix, not new in that we are trying to create year-round tourism, but how do you go about it? So the following page on our initiatives, our new initiatives for the year, is to brand each month. And we've heard this before. We don't want to say there's an in-season and an out-of-season or an off-season. So what is January? Well, January recently has become Ice Bar Month. So let's embrace that. So our content and our digital and our social media embraces the fact that we're an ice bar destination, and it's a pretty cool thing to do. And what do you mean? You stand outside and you stand around a fire and you're, talking with your friends? Well, that kind of sounds like fun. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should share that with my friends. And they all come on up, and it really has become a movement in the month of January, which is not to say that skiing and snowmobiling and some of those other things aren't really cool winter things, but they're a little bit more snow dependent. So, and we do promote those as well. But in terms of themes and general winter fun, we have January as Ice Bar Month. Moving into February, Winter Carnival has been with us forever. Also a Winter Carnival up in Brant Lake. And each month of the year, Maple, I think, was one of the first themes that we jumped on a couple of years ago. We know that Maple Days has been happening for a number of years over in Thurman, but who's ever heard of Thurman? So you don't advertise Thurman necessarily, but you say, here's a Maple Days experience. Your children are sitting around the table having pancakes. Do you know where that maple syrup comes from? Well, let's go to the Sugar House and check it out. And then it becomes a family thing. And I think that over the years, we can track, again, our social media on that, but we've gotten really good response from people that are reading our content stories and sharing that with their friends and coming up to Maple Days or any other events throughout the year. So we have a little schedule of month by month by month, and that's what we would be focusing on. We can measure our social media, our digital, our Google Analytics, and we do have a Smith Trend report that is daily by month. So if we look at a specific weekend this year, I'll just say Maple Days again, we can look at a specific weekend last year and see if our promotions are affecting that Smith Trend demand. Another aspect of that promotion that will be new to us this year are micro videos. So we contract with Working Pictures in Albany to do our television commercials, and we had a brand new summer commercial last year, which I think everyone loved and we loved, and the state took recognition of. And last fall they shot footage for our fall commercial that will be new this coming year. But we also asked them, we said, hey, let's mix things up a little bit, and instead of a brand new winter commercial, which would be a year out, let's try some little video snippets or micro videos. And we know that videos perform well online, digital, social. So we have a list, we've worked with Peter and Working Pictures, and we have a list of themes, and they'll go out and shoot or use existing footage to create these little 15 or 30-second video clips that we can then promote, whether it's a special event, a season, an activity like hiking, zip line flyer, cruises on the lake, and then we can use those for the next couple of years before we get back to that rotation again of summer commercial, fall commercial. So we're just trying to, we have the flexibility to switch it up a little bit, and if video is where it's at, then let's spend a little dollars on that or redirect our efforts and try something new. Business highlights is something that we started last year, where we focused on a profile of an individual business that the first time out the door, it happened to be Natural Stone Bridge and Caves. So our staff went up and spent, 2 or 3 or more days with Greg Beckler and followed him around and heard his story and took pictures and took the tour, and the result was the Caveman of Pottersville. But Greg is so much into that story, and that property has been with his family forever. And you don't realize it if you just walk in and you go through the little tour, but when you read about it, you share that story, people are like, oh yeah, I went there as a kid, or oh, that sounds cool, I didn't know there was such a thing. So we'd like to do more profiles like that throughout the year. Might not be one a month, but every other month. But those are the kind of things that people really relate to. It's an experience. It's a real person. And millennials in particular, as we keep hearing over and over again, they want that experience. They want it to be a little different. I want to do something that my friends haven't done before, and I want to go there and say that it's really cool. So just another avenue that we're working on.
I'd like to throw in here at this point, a lot of what we're centered, this program's centered on, is creating evergreen content. And evergreen content is stuff that we do 1 year that sticks around year after year with minimal effort. So that Greg Beckler piece was highlighting a very unique experience to this area, and it was done well last year and received well by consumers. And that stuff will still exist for this year's promotion. We'll still get it out there, and the effort's been removed from it, but the exposure's still there. So we'll take that same effort that went into curating that story and dump it into something else. We've targeted specifically the Glen Drive-In in Queensbury as a unique family experience. Again, playing into family experiences and adventure experiences. So we did the adventurous one last year. We're going to get that family one this year. And that particular property has a 60th anniversary coming up. And a pretty unique story behind it that goes beyond just projector on a screen. You can delve into things like how projector evolution happened, what kind of pressures that puts on the business, the outside family perspective. It's a whole unique story that's really, really interested. And if there's anything we've learned about millennials, is they love to be the first to know, right? They want to be the expert within their group. So they read this story, and they carry those details to their friends, and they look like the guru. That's what they want. They want to be the captain of the ship and say, look, this is this really cool thing, and it's got all this stuff, and we should go check it out because they switched to digital projectors, and all that stuff matters. It's very, very important. So that's another piece that will be evergreen. So that still exists with some minor tweaks to the story in subsequent years, and will help develop Google search algorithms and ranking, and still drive people to our site. And again, the effort will be removed, the labor behind creating it, and that will be shifted to various other targets throughout the year. So I think these business highlights serve a very good purpose of creating a uniqueness in the community and really showcasing some of the stuff that you're not going to see elsewhere.
So the rest of the marketing plan is just kind of flushes out all things promotional that we do within the department, whether it's social media. We do still do some print. We're moving away from that a little bit. Our demographics, the blog that lives on our website that is relatively new, and how we curate that content, our social media channels. I mean, we could really get into this in a lot of detail. If you have specific questions, we would be happy to answer. We could elaborate on this a little bit more at the next meeting. We had thought we might have, Advertisers Workshop has our contract for our website and our digital promotion. In terms of, Peter is the creative director. Peter put together the travel guide, creates our ads, but an agency like Advertisers Workshop will go out and place them for us and monitor the results, and they know the markets to be in, and they will retarget. So there's a whole science behind that. So they do that well for us. And they also have the contract for our website, which is new this year and has well outperformed the old website. I would say in 2017 we had about 1 million user sessions, and we hope to really, we didn't have a full year in 2017 because we came on board in mid-April, but I think 18 with our SEO and our content and our wonderful images and our really well-written, all of our listings and itineraries, it just goes on and on, will move us into increased sessions over the next year. But we'll work with Ad Workshop, and they'll say, hey, this is new, or hey, we should tweak that. Always changes to be made and to stay up to date on the website. So we had considered having them come in and just answer some questions. Any other questions?
Before that, and the
General?
only other thing I want you to talk about the CBB board. I mean, we're getting heavily into working with them. We've had a couple of meetings, and we hope to have a meeting a week or every other week to follow what they do and they follow what we're doing, and supporting them as a team. And I think the first meeting we had was pretty good, and got a lot of things solved, and I think we're going to work well with them. Yes.
Chairman, thank you. I'm working on basic things. Joanne, thanks. That was a great presentation. In here, you mentioned a co-op where you're working with the different businesses like the Stonebridge and Caves. There's significantly, or there's a potential for significant value for the businesses that's highlighted. Are they compensating us for the work that we do, and if so, why not? Or if not, why not?
Well, there's always a little give and take, or there's assets on both sides. So last year, and we've only tiptoed into this a little bit. We've tried a couple of them. Last summer we did a co-op with the Great Escape, the theme park, and they created all of the assets that went along with it, the digital ads. They placed them. They contributed video, and they did all of the measurement behind that. And then we had some dollars to back that up and push it out. So there was, they had in-kind services, and we spent the advertising dollars on that. And then they came back and shared and made a presentation. What could they see from that? Their market might not be exactly the same as ours, because they might be trying to attract people from Western New York to come to a theme park over this way. So we were able to, gain some different insights that we might not necessarily see on our own. The Gore Co-op was a limited period of time in January, and Gore did contribute some of their dollars and creative behind it. Peter did a little bit of the creative.
Yeah, to be clear, the business highlights are separate from the co-op campaigns. The business highlights are just, these are unique, interesting things that are already on people's radar, and we're just trying to flesh that out. And the goal would be is if I had manpower, we could write all of the county into this. But right now we're, with staffing limitation and resources, we're targeting very low-hanging fruit. The co-ops pertain to working, again, how Joanne alluded to, Six Flags and combining budgets, getting value, leveraging their statistics, their people behind it. But there's always, both entities are contributing something to it. So we've just entered into one with Gore, state partner, biggest ski area for us in this particular time of year. There has been some shopping ones in the past with the outlets, and we're going to be looking to entertain those as well in the future. So the co-op is in its infancy. I'm looking to flesh that out much more, but there's a lot of opportunity in that, and combining budgets and resources to get a lot more exposure, targeted exposure.
I just want to make sure we're not just being a free advertising source for some of our businesses.
The other thing that we do highly work on is our monthly e-blast. And most of the business people that here know that they can purchase a little thing on our e-blast on a certain month or time about their business. There's no charge to it, but it does work really well and gives everybody an opportunity to show themselves. Can you hold over? Let's finish and I'll give. All right, go ahead.
What
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to suggest is, I think, contrary to I believe Frank Dietrich from the Warren County Lodging Association, which includes the 20-some-odd businesses that have nothing to do with hotels, what I was going to mention is I think these business highlights, if you will, honestly, from the business community's point of view, at this stage in our evolution is a good thing. It's putting out there the little anecdotes about our region that others wouldn't know. And so, rather than have it worry that I'm the coach outlet and why did you talk about LL Bean or whatever, you're really trying to talk about, in that example, you'd be talking about outlet mall shopping. And here's one, here's an example. You know, I think with the example that you used, drive-in, you know, is something that for the kind of guests that we're trying to attract on a more year-round basis, let's talk about what we have here. Because it's more than a lake or the mountains or the civic center or the pool insuring, that you know, we need to be talking about.
Thank you. All right, Joanne, anything else? Any other questions maybe for Joanne that we can help you with? All right. Kristen Hannaford from the Lake George CVB Chamber. We won't rush you this month like last month. We set up an hour and a half to have plenty of time.
Sorry?
We set up an hour and a half to have plenty of time, so we won't rush you.
So use the hour and a half.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have octaks after this, so don't use the whole, we have octaks, so don't use the whole hour and a half.
All right, I promise. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, everyone. Welcome the new members of the Tourism Committee. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. What I'm passing around right now, just so you have in front of you, is our tourism, is our marketing and sales plan for 2018. And on the back side, actually, if you flip over, you will see our outcomes report from 2017. So I did go over a lot of our outcomes back at the November meeting. However, I am pleased to report that we did have 21 new events booked for 2017 last year. Some of those included the Hemmings Concours d'Elegance Car Show, Rock Maple Racing, Snowmobile Series, Trilogy Lacrosse Tournament, Phi Sigma Kappa Conclave, Philadelphia Church of God, Ride for Hope and Gratitude, Tiny Trailer Camping Group, say that 4 times fast, and several others, including other sporting events, totaling room night commitments of 6,120 room nights for the region for this past year. Moving forward, sports will continue to be a strong market for us, and we'll be focusing on midweek and shoulder season business to enhance the overall sustainability of tourism for our region. The CVB works closely with many of our local partner destinations, local organizations, to successfully host and service existing events to enhance the overall visitor experience. So while we also work on repeat business as well. Both our marketing and our hosting strategies this year are designed to competitively position and brand the Lake George region as one of the nation's premier meeting, sports, conventions, and event destinations. As a designated DMO for the region, we are also the conduit for the hospitality industry in the area to create that guaranteed book business. Oftentimes we work months and years in advance on events, festivals, sporting events, and things of that nature. And in order to create a strong economic impact, what we're looking to do is create an integrated sales and marketing plan, which will include increased market outreach through traditional and social media channels, cultivation of existing relationships with stakeholders and event managers, and mechanisms for new sales kits, videos, pre and post marketplace outreach through social media channels with a clear and consistent message across all of these platforms. So how do we track this? We're going to add some key tracking tools and resources as well to sort of monitor our progress and better forecast regional and seasonal needs, identify the gaps in the marketplace, and really create that targeted approach. By using monthly Smith data reports, we can better identify regional inventory, adding customer relationship management tools like SimpleView, for example, will help us better track our leads and create seamless reports for you as we talk on a monthly basis to you. An economic impact calculator can help us evaluate the return on the investment. A lot of talk about that word ROI. You know, how are we doing? How are we measuring our metrics? And something like an economic impact calculator can be able to allow us to actually look at the events that we have currently in the area, some that are perhaps getting funding from various sources, and sort of see how are those translating over for us in the region economically. So these tools are really important in identifying what's working in our industry and what is not. So in order for us to realize these goals, we've got 3 major strategies that we're going to try and put in place. First, we want to continue to develop the new business opportunities for the region. We'll continue to prospect new and existing business in the association, corporate, and religious markets by leveraging existing relationships with organizations, excuse me, for example, Empire State Society of Association Executives, New York State Society of Human Resource Management, and other organizations that are out there regionally and across the states. We'll actively solicit group tours, reunions, military, educational, religious, and fraternal groups through our marketing, one-on-one meeting marketplaces, membership opportunities, and social media campaigns pre and post these marketplaces. This is a little bit something new for us this year that we're really looking to get ahead of the game in. I go to a number of marketplaces which are one-on-one meetings. Imagine speed dating. Imagine this is your room and you have one-on-one meetings with every single person in this room and you have 5 minutes to talk about your destination. That's what these marketplaces are. So I talk about them for sports, for meetings, conventions, special events. And you literally have 5 minutes. And what's key there is also free in the post. So I do my homework ahead of time. I find out all about the organizations, find out what are their needs, how do we fit into their mix. And it's really important to go with having done your homework. Then we have these meetings, and then there's that post follow-up. But there's also this other component that we're going to add to this, to reach more broad reaching to these folks. So we'll work on social media ahead of the game before these events, whether it's an NASC, National Association of Sport Commission, or whether it is ESSE down in Saratoga this year. And talk to these folks ahead of time and tell them why it's important that they come to our destination. What assets do we have to highlight and focus on? Maybe run a quick video snippet for them and say, wow, we're so visual. This is why you need to bring your meeting here. Or we have great assets such as the Dome or Golden Goal or some of these other sport venues. Come see and find out what they're all about and why we have over 9,000 guest rooms that can host your events. So these are some of the components that we'll be adding into that first goal. We'll also continue to produce high-quality bid proposals to bring in big events, for example, the New York State Winter Special Olympics, which I'm currently working on now, and the Adventure Travel Trade Association's Elevate Conference, which is coming in 2019, which will really highlight outdoor recreation and outdoor adventure, as well as all the great experiences that we have in this area. Secondly, we're also going to implement a comprehensive marketing effort across all of our platforms. We'll be creating targeted print and digital advertising campaigns across the marketplaces, like I mentioned, pre and post those events. We'll be updating our CVB website with new imagery and resources, providing consistent convention services, which will include opportunities for familiarization tours, hosting perhaps media or potential buyers, tour operators of that nature, that'll bring meeting planners and free promotion for these events. Utilizing sponsorship as key opportunities to activate these markets. Something a little different, a little unique, because not everybody thinks of sponsorship as a way to reach those key audiences, but depending where you are you're activating, you can really reach some key folks and make them realize that this is a destination for them. Revised existing meeting conventions video. Unfortunately, due to our time, we did not have a chance to show you the new video that we produced last year. However, at February's meeting, I'd be more than happy to show you the meetings conventions video that we produced this past year. And then developing market-specific creative to increase our advertising placement in trade publications, and creating that comprehensive database so we can go back and all the people that we touched and talked to over the course of the years, we can go back and circle back. So maybe we didn't get that meeting this year, but we're going to go back and talk to them again and find out why they didn't come and how can we get them next year or the year after. We're also going to track the impacts and adjust our campaigns throughout the year to maintain our consistent messaging. What this means is that we want to be able to be reactive. If we see that there's growing interest in a market segment, such as the religious market or the sports market, our market efforts can reflect that, and we can grow those business segments. Or maybe we're seeing that there's gaps, and that's where that research of that market trend analysis is so important, so that we can go and look and say, well, gee, maybe in these months here, we don't have a lot of room nights that are being booked, or we don't have a lot of events going on. How do we go after those key gaps and fill those? And so we can create aggressive, full-on campaigns surrounding that particular need for the area. This is where research and strategy and implementation are going to be the key tenets of what we do. Finally, our final strategy is going to be to position and continue to position us as the sportcation destination in New York State and across, frankly, the U.S. if we can. We're still pretty small, but we're growing. We've seen the rise of sporting tournaments at the Dome with softball and baseball, soccer and lacrosse tournaments at Golden Goal, volleyball tournaments at $1 Million Beach, and now pickleball tournaments coming to Queensbury. Snowmobiling, skiing opportunities, snowshoe races, ice hockey, all great examples of sports in the wintertime as well. These are all economic opportunities here, and that will allow us to reach our goals to bring more visitors and more room nights to our area. We have a fantastic area with both man-made and natural destinations. So how are we going to do this? Particularly for the sports side, again, similar to our other campaigns, we'll continue to develop the messaging through our marketing and our PR. We'll increase the local awareness and continue to reach out to the folks that we've been talking to, as well as our local host partners. We'll work with AAU, New York State Public High Schools Athletic Association, rights holders with National Association of Sport Commissions, and Sport Relationship Conference, as well as some of the other partners that we have out in the marketplace. In the entire plan, overall, communication really is key with our hospitality and venue partners. So if events are coming to town, the other component of this, which may not necessarily be outlined in this, is being able to translate that information out to the community, to the hotels, to the business leaders, to the attractions, to the restaurants. There's nothing worse than having 90 teams come into Golden Goal and have 20 of them decide they all want to come to Adirondack Pub and Brewery, and they all want to have dinner at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. Wouldn't it be better if... True story, yes, true story. But wouldn't it be better if we could say to John, oh, by the way, we have Golden Goal has 90 teams coming in, and 3 of them want to come in at 8 o'clock, and 4 of them want to come in at 9 o'clock, and you can staff properly, and there's enough food. And so bringing that information out there and disseminating that is really going to be critical and key to sharing that information across the board, which is where the CVB and the Chamber together can work with the businesses as well as with the hospitality partners. Marketplaces we plan on attending this year include the Interstate Rent a Travel Trade Association Elevate Conference, which we are the host in 2019, the National Association of Sport Commissions Marketplace, SA, Connect, and Small Market Meetings, Sport Relationship, and Travel Media Showcase. Again, these are all one-on-one, appointment-based conferences, so therefore we create a set appointments so we know who we're talking to ahead of time. We want to make sure that they're vetted and that they're interested in our area. Advertising will be kept tight due to budgets and bottom lines, but we want to maximize our exposure with advertorial, which is basically free advertising through editorial, blog posts, earned media, and a mix of traditional advertising. Other non-traditional opportunities that we're looking at, we're going to try and incorporate, like I mentioned before, into sponsorship opportunities to reach those key audiences. So that's kind of a brief overview and snapshot. I know it's kind of a quick and dirty of the marketing plan, and there's a lot to it. Certainly happy to speak with you further. Our Executive Director, Gina Mincer, is also here, so she can talk to you more also about the nuts and bolts of the plan itself. Kicking off the new year, just a quick snapshot of how we're doing. For January, I'm happy to report that we have about 1,600 new guest rooms coming in so far, booked this month. About 5,889 pending new room night leads, of which 2,510 came in just in January alone. Unfortunately, we lost 114 room nights due to events that decided to go somewhere. So having a strong strong start to the year. We're also very excited to host, like I mentioned before, the Elevate Conference, and working on some great partnerships there with DEC, I Love New York, New York State Tourism Industry Association. And I'm excited about this because it really is a game changer for us. It can help rebrand our destination as the place to come for adventure travel. We have all the assets: outdoor adventure, cultural venues, historical sites, craft beverage, incredible scenery, and unique experiences. Josiah talked a little bit about experiences and unique experiences across the state. We have everything right here. As part of I Love New York's tagline says, "It's all here." We do have it all here. What better way to reinvent ourselves as cool, fresh, and hip, and unique for the millennials, for those that have come here for decades, who have a camp on the lake and love to come, and really just to bring ourselves out there. So I'm excited for 2018 and beyond, and thank you to our local officials, our hospitality partners for all of your support. We look forward to working with you this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any particular question real quick for Simon?
Thank you very much for your time and your commitment to the overall view for the plan, but I just want to ask you a couple of questions. I don't know if you're familiar with the Moines study that was done in 2016 that talked about the Glens Falls Civic Center and what it means to the committee. So I'd like to point that out to you, and if you do have some time on your hands to get a copy of that study. But it's very clear in the study that it brings in a little bit over $10 million a year in sales, which includes $8.2 million in new visitors. I haven't heard a direct plan in regards to how you're going to include the Glens Falls Civic Center into your promotions on a regional basis, or I haven't directly heard how you're going to include the other assets of the Glens Falls area into your promotions. So I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, sure. No, to your point, you know, Jeff Mead and I do communicate on a fairly regular basis. You know, I send him leads. We do talk, you know, about the opportunities. And actually, we were due to sit down yesterday. Unfortunately, we had some conflicts of schedule, so we're going to try and rebook for next week. But to your point about Glens Falls, and I've you know, heard that we talk a lot about Lake George, and you know, everybody's driving to Lake George, going to Lake George. But what about everybody else? What about Warrensburg? What about Glens Falls? What about Queensbury? Our philosophy is regional, so therefore, you know, being able to find venues that are in Glens Falls that perhaps would fit an event or a meeting space that might be unique and different, that might not be able to come to Lake George. These are all within the conversations currently. They're not written down on a plan, but it's certainly in the mix and in the conversation to say, you know, we operate on a regional approach. And so therefore it is important to be able to say, you know, if an event is coming to town, how do we collectively work together to share in the distribution of wealth, so to speak. You know, but that is...
I'd like to hear more about your plan, and my next question would be is when do you anticipate having that developed so this board can review that?
Well,
Because
you
mentioned that this is not a seasonal approach to tourism, it's a regional approach, and I think one of the biggest challenges that we face is the off-season when the lake itself shuts down.
Right,
and when
and
we can tap the other assets, which we have an awful lot of assets in the city of Glens Falls that I haven't heard mentioned in this discussion.
So really to more from a mechanical standpoint, because we talk about the 10 months of the year and the midweek business. So when in our plan, when we talk about the meeting, convention, and sports market, sports is really weekend business. So the meeting, convention, reunion business, different than the group tour business, which the group tour motor coach operations really come out of Warren County Tourism Department, and Tanya Brand, who's all over that, and it's in this plan here. But from our mechanics, when we go to trade shows and we talk one-on-one with the meeting and event planner, we've already done our homework in advance, as she had said, so we know what types of venues are being used. So I could talk to 10 people about the Cool and Cheering Arena in the religious market that might need that theater style for several hundred people that would not fit at one of our larger hotels, let's say. It wouldn't fit at the Queensbury, or it wouldn't fit at Fort William Henry, or it might not fit at the Sagamore, but it could fit there, and those folks are drive-ins anyway. So we would focus on the meeting space first, versus the rooms, because you can always do overflow rooms. So our plan from our trade show perspective and the association / religious / sports business that we're going after is to fill really 10 months of the year. We're not going after group business for July and August.
Okay.
Our business community has said, don't even talk to us for with
So,
group business.
again, my question gets back to, you're going to put together a plan that includes the assets in the city of Glens Falls, which includes the Glens Falls Civic Center.
Well, I think that...
That's correct. It's one of the events. It's one
So
of our events.
when
Right.
do you
But
anticipate
that-
having that plan available?
I don't believe necessarily that needs to be a separate plan, because a
I
lot
think it
of...
needs to be included in, simply because, they may be announcing an event, in a short period of time that may bring 4,000 or 5,000 people to the city. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind as we talk about the region. We talk about Lake George in the summer season. Everybody loves Lake George. When anybody asks me, where do you live? I live next to Lake George. Well, they can relate to that. But I think there's other areas of activities that need to be focused on in the off-season, which could include some of the high points I know that's in the Lake George Arena.
Right, and I think...
That would include the assets in the city of Glens Falls. So my interest is primarily how you help to get the message out and promote, the asset that we have in the central business district called the Cool Insurance Agency.
Right, and I think to Gina's point too, that is something that we currently already do. We don't just...
I haven't heard the plan. That's all I'm asking for.
No, but-
if you can share the
but
plan
within-
in the future.
Certainly, but within this plan, and perhaps it's not exactly clear, perhaps we can clarify it a bit more, it incorporates Glens Falls,
Okay.
it incorporates Queensbury, it incorporates the town and village of Lake George, and Warrensburg, and Stony Creek. In other words, when I'm out selling our destination, I'm out selling all of you. I'm not just focused on Lake George. Lake George is the brand. It's the name, as Josiah said and as Joanna has said, and anybody else here, it's what people know. It's iconic. However, if somebody was to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go spend the weekend up in upstate New York and I have a meeting and it's going to be in Glens Falls. Well, if I'm from Ohio, I may not know Glens Falls. No disrespect to Glens Falls, because you have phenomenal assets. You've got the Hyde Collection, you've got the Cool Insuring Arena, you've got awesome breweries, you've got great downtown restaurants, you've got awesome spaces and public spaces down the area, and parks, and all sorts of really amazing assets, which I sell, and I talk about it out there, just like I talk about the other destinations. Maybe it hasn't been up on the forefront, and I'm more than happy to sit down with you, even separately, and talk to you about how that gets incorporated
Well, I think it's
into our
important to
messaging.
get that word out more so as we promote the region,
Sure.
that Glens Falls is unique. It has a lot of opportunities, a lot of destinations, and especially having the Cool Insurance Arena in the hub of the downtown business district, where they probably employ anywhere from 140 people annually. And the amount of people, if you look at the numbers, $8 million a year and rising going forward, that's something that's unique, that needs to be talked about in greater depth. So my question again would be is, I'd like to see that plan that you're going to develop that includes the Civic Center, so I could review that if you don't mind.
All right, we got 10 more minutes of my committee here, so if there's not any other questions...
Mr. Chairman, just very quickly,
Yes.
Kristen, thank you very much, and to responding to my email, we'll get together. But I
Sure.
wonder if you can quickly kind of share, what's the biggest impediment to you being successful other than funding?
Well,
Just answered your own question.
bodies. No, we this area, like I said before, has a tremendous amount of assets. Whether it's meetings, conventions, sports, special events. The challenge sometimes, we are a small market meetings destination, so we don't have a convention center. We do have a Cool Insuring Arena that does fit certain sized events. So certainly from the challenge standpoint, we're not going to attract a media convention that is, 4,000 people. We just can't compete. We have to know where our assets are and where do we land and where do we stand. And what are we good at? I was having a conversation earlier with Jim Ferris, actually, just before the meeting. We were talking about, where's our sweet spots? Where are the things that we need to go after that are going to make us, even as Joanne said, famous? on the meetings and conventions, sports side. So those are the things that we're going to focus on. But our challenges, like you said, they are resources. You know, they're fiscal, they are personnel, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but certainly we have the ability with over 9,000 guest rooms in this area and all the great assets we have to be amazing. Our potential is unlimited from what I've seen. I've been doing this for 25 years in various capacities as a meeting planner, working in marketing for the state, working in group tours. I've done a lot of different things, and everything that we have here, we're primed for greatness. You know, it's just setting the right tools and the plans in place to make it, push it in motion.
Gene?
Oh, Dennis, yes.
Mike, one of the problems that CVB has, other than money, is manpower, which relates to money, but it's manpower. They have the go-getters, and they need people to back them up. We are working on that, but it is a problem, and we'll be talking about it more in the future.
All right. I'm going to open to the floor. Anybody have a quick question or something that we can help you with? Yes, Joanne.
I skimmed over the rest of my marketing program, and I did not mention the fact that Tanya Brand is not here today. She is at ADA, at the American Bus Association show. Some of what Tanya does is similar to what Tristan will do in a marketplace setting, and she will be talking with the tour operators. So she is on business today, and she would like to present her marketing plan at the next committee meeting. She also does a little bit with international visitors, which is a new market for us, but we can explain that more at our next meeting. Just want to make a nod to Pam.
Did I see a hand? Yes.
All right, the comment and the question. Great guidebook, excellent focus, cleaned it up, modernized it. Thank you for that. Last year, there was some talk about our growth rate and occupancy tax revenue, which is somewhat of an indicator of how good the economy of tourism is doing in our county. Do you have a goal for 2018 of what you'd like to see the occupancy tax revenue growth? With 1,600 new hotel rooms, which should indicate some growth automatically. We have new properties, new reasons to stay in them, heavy capital investment from our business community to pull that off. What's your target growth rate for 2018 for occupancy tax growth?
Right now, we don't have collections for all of 2017, but we are approximately 3.2% up over the previous year. So I think that 5% would be a reasonable amount of growth for the following year.
And just a quick, because we've been growing about 100,000 a year in receiving OCTAX, it's been pretty steady, but this year we're about 185,000 as of the last report over last year. So it is climbing, maybe not as fast as some people want to see it.
Yeah.
But it is climbing. We're not, if we were declining, we'd all be more worried. But I think it'll grow. More hotels coming on board at the prime time, especially in the summer when we have the most amount of people. They'll
Really about the events.
yeah, but it's events, and that's what we're working with the CVB board, and the money that has been set aside will definitely be going there, and we're hoping that they can get the events that we're looking for in the county.
Okay. My biggest concern on the $100 million is probably been spent the last 2 years on hotel properties in our county, and with the very aggressive growth rates of minimum wage and expenses doing business in the tourism industry, to see a 5 or 8 or 9% growth rate isn't nice. It's almost mandatory to cover the cost of debt increases for business owners and cost of just doing business with a $12.50 an hour minimum wage that we're looking at in a year and a half. Those are very concerning. We need to see our growth happening at an equal rate to our expense increase.
Definitely. All right,
Appreciate
thanks.
that. Thank you.
I see another hand any place? Mike?
Yeah, would it be possible to get a brief update on the RFP with the CVB?
Oh, that you have to go through OCTAX.
We'll cover that.
To cover that.
We'll ignore that.
All right, anything else?
Is the guide like online flip book?
Is it online?
Like an online flip book, like where you can do it on a phone or anything like that, and it is a nice piece, but does it have that?
Correct, it will be. We usually tandem that with when the delivery comes, the distribution Thursday happens, which today, so, today, next weekend.
All right. Well, thank you.
Fred Vogel from Eliza Crest Haven. I don't know if this is the right venue, but we do have a lot of years from supervisors here, so I thought I'd ask it. Airbnb, VRBO, and the sort are making a huge impact in competition to our local hotels. They don't have to live by DOH responsibilities. They don't have to pay what they should be
Insurances.
paying, but occupancy tax. Is the supervisors working to address that issue?
Yeah.
I couldn't set you up any better, Mike. We, the town of Lake George has spent a considerable amount of time and money. We have developed a means to get to what you're after. If you are interested in renting out your home or cottage or garage in Lake George, you're going to need to get a business permit. So the business permit requires you to come in and answer all the questions about occupancy. How many bedrooms do you have? You have an updated septic system. How many parking places do you have? Do you have smoke alarms? Do you have CO2 alarms? Do you have fire extinguishers? Goes through the whole thing, everything, to get this business permit. In that process, we'll be able to eliminate a lot of the problems that we have presently with people buying private homes, going to residential areas, renting them out, 6 cars show up, park all over the lawn, party all night. In there will also be rules about what you can and can't do. You can't leave pets at the house unattended. You can't have open fires. It's pretty extensive. I just emailed it to my good friend John. In that, once you get your business license, you're automatically set the flag up. If you're renting your house, you need to pay whatever it is you need to pay. So we're really hoping that this will turn the tide on those. We're all in favor of people renting their houses. There are things you need to do if you're going to rent your house. You're in business.
We're just asking for an even.
I think what you're asking, though, is the county doing it? Yes, the treasurer's office is looking into the collecting oxy tax from some of those B&Bs. And Mike's been off with medical leave, but when he comes back, we can follow up with that, because that was one of the things that he was working on, to follow up with that. That's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
I thought so.
All right, with that,
Sorry, just a quick one on that, Mr. Chairman. Is there any kind of statewide or national kind of program to get reporting from VRBO so we can get some data instead of self-reporting by individuals? Because if someone in Lake George rents it once, right, they'll probably fly under the radar. Or twice, they might fly under the radar.
Lake George, we have an aggressive program. We check every week. Go online and type in, Reynolds Lake George. So if you're going to rent it, you need to advertise it. And if you advertise it, we want to catch it. Plus, the neighbors are great policing force.
well, as the county goes, we haven't done any of that stuff.
I think this is a problem you're going to see handled mostly on the local level because it's easier and more efficient. So Queensbury does it, Warrensburg does it, Bolton does it.
One resource, New York State Hospitality and Tourism Association is very active on the Airbnb front. They would come and speak to this committee, ask them, and they could fill you in on what the best practices are statewide on managing Airbnb.
Maybe that'd be, for the next month, we can get them in here and get our treasurer and they can all talk about what they're doing on those kind of problems.
I think it's especially critical. Airbnb, you might be aware, is trying to go county by county or state by state to strike a deal. They're not doing that because they want to be fair, right? I mean, honestly, they're trying to do that to protect their subscribers from, different rules and different zip codes or whatever.
All right, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
All right.
And thank you all for coming. And we got plenty of these books downstairs if anybody wants them. Up Next is occupancy tax.
I'll pass the charge in 5 minutes.